Hey everyone, welcome back to the InQI Blueprint. I'm Laura Mitchell, here with Ali Tehranchi. Today we're honestly diving into one of my absolute favorite rabbit holes, the tangled, messy world of building code compliance. Ali, I don't think people outside the industry realize just how overwhelming it can be. You've got the zoning, fire safety, accessibility rules, state code amendments, the list goes on, and the manuals never end.
Yeah, it's wild. You're not kidding about never ending, Laura. We're talking thousands and thousands of pages, right? And none of it is actually written for how we work. The code is pure text, but it's enforced on visuals, the actual geometry on your blueprints. So you're constantly translating, double-checking every wall, every doorway, against all these shifting standards. It's one giant risk magnet for architects.
Total risk magnet. And I remember early in my career, lugging around those giant municipal code books, like literally a box of binders in my trunk. You'd get a last-minute amendment from the city clerk, and suddenly half your bathroom layout is non-compliant. I lost weeks once redoing an entire plan set because a local zoning ordinance got updated, and I just didn't spot the new language buried 3 pages deep. Manual cross-referencing isn't just slow, it's dangerous for professionals. You're always one missed page away from a complete redo.
Absolutely. And if you look at what the process actually is, it's totally unreasonable for a single architect or designer to keep up. The complexity isn't in understanding one rule. It's in this mental juggling act. And like you said, Laura, every jurisdiction adds its own flavor. You're tracking down PDFs from 10 different websites, trying to guess which fire amendment will get flagged by the reviewer. And all the tools we've had, up until recently, were, basically just glorified search bars. They didn't know your project at all and missed all the cross-links between these codes.
You nailed it. Architects have always shouldered this cognitive load. And honestly, the real liability isn't design. It's making a simple code mistake that nobody catches until permitting. I think that's why we see so much hesitation. Nobody wants to be the one who misses an obscure change in the accessibility chapter. It just turns what should be a creative process into, nonstop risk management.
So what's cool is we might finally be breaking out of that cycle. I mean, if you look at where we were, those early platforms like Upcodes were game changers. Suddenly you could, search instead of flipping pages. But they still didn't know your design intent. You're still plugging in search terms and hoping you catch everything that applies to your site, right?
Exactly. It's what we talked about in episode 1. Just because you can find the code text faster doesn't mean it's any easier to truly apply it. Those tools are passive, not interactive. Now with codes.iq, you enter 3 things: project address, jurisdiction, occupancy. And the system instantly sweeps in the right local amendments. Not the whole haystack, just the needles you really need.
Yeah, and that's the real shift, project awareness. It's looking at your CAD files, your PDFs, and actually reading the geometry. It's not just, here's the rule about corridors, it's, hey Ollie, this corridor is 2 inches too narrow for the specified occupancy load, right here on sheet A301. How many times would a team miss something that granular, especially when local rules pile on?
So true. The codes.iq process really comes down to those 4 stages. First, you set the context. Input the job address, jurisdiction, and type. Instantly narrows the code universe. Second, the AI analyzes your actual drawings, looking at areas, fixture counts, even verifying you uploaded the right soil report for a given site. It's nuts.
Then step 3, delivering actionable intelligence. This is the phase where a designer doesn't just get flagged, they get a specific call-out, like which door on which sheet doesn't hit width for ADA. So you know exactly what to fix, not just where to reread. Finally, there's verify and document. The best part? Within seconds, you get a verifiable, reviewer-ready logic report. Every issue links to the relevant plan view and the code that triggered it. It's building the logic trail, basically, for the reviewer, even before you submit.
Game changer for liability, truly. And as someone who's spent time on redline reviews, That alone would have shaved weeks off back and forth with building departments. Actually, Ali, do you remember that bay scenery project you did? The hillside one in Los Gatos? I'm pretty sure you said if you could have run an integrated code check that matched the plan geometry right at concept, permitting would have been, what, a month faster?
Easily, Laura. You're right, that one gave us headaches. We ran into 2 late-phase compliance flags that, if we'd had project-aware AI, would have just shown up immediately on the drawings. A ton of wasted redesign, resubmission, and honestly, lost sleep. So this dynamic linking and real-time analysis, it totally streamlines that pain.
So here's where things really get interesting. The living aspect of this compliance. Codes.IQ uses a knowledge graph, which, for anyone not deep in AI, is basically a map of how all the rules connect. Building, zoning, ADA, fire, energy, they're dynamically linked and traceably updated every time your plan changes. That means your compliance reports are always live, never out of date, unlike most other platforms' static PDFs that are instantly obsolete after a tweak.
Right, and what's even more critical is logic traceability. With traditional black box AI, you get a result but no reasoning. Here, every compliance issue points you to the source in your plans and references the exact code section. It's a complete chain of evidence reviewers can trust and design teams can defend. And it isn't just a list of code chapters. It's fully contextual for your specific project.
I mean, you look at the coverage. We're talking every local and national code in the US and Canada, dynamically updating as amendments drop. No more surprises halfway through a project. For any firm working across state lines or on complex developments, that's, well, a giant safety net and the ultimate time saver. No more having to hunt down whether the local zoning board changed setback rules last spring.
It's really shifting compliance from this necessary chore into something that supports, even boosts, creative design. If you know the second you draw a wall that you're good across all applicable codes, you're free to focus on the solutions, not the red tape. And this opens up new territory for generative design, right? With InQI, you automate not just code checking, but also site planning, meaning teams can experiment, iterate, and push boundaries without spending weeks in regulatory purgatory.
I think that's the big idea. And honestly, it's what we'll have to keep talking about as more of AEC gets automated. If the tools handle the compliance grind, it begs the question, how does the human architect's role evolve in this new creative space? What's left for us to uniquely shape?
Yeah, that's a conversation for another episode, Laura. But for now, we hope today's deep dive helped listeners crack the code. That's a terrible pun, but I'm sticking with it. Of how project-aware AI is actually changing how we all work, not just adding another software step. Thanks for listening to the InQI Blueprint.
Thanks for joining us today, Ali. And thanks to everyone who tuned in. Make sure to subscribe and join us next time, where we'll take this conversation even further. See you soon.
Bye, Laura. Bye, everyone.